So when I go into schools, I like to explain to children what health is. So when they ask me, what is health? I'd like to give them like a easy definition for them to understand. Now, if you go online and you type in what is health, you'll find various definitions, but the one that always comes up is this one. A state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Has anyone heard of that definition before? It's a very old definition. They use it in the NHS, they use it in the fitness manuals, they use it everywhere, yeah? This is like the definition in the UK, yeah? Who was it by? Guess who? World Health Organization. When did 1948. That's when it was founded. So that's when they came out with it, and they haven't changed the definition since, yeah? Now again, I like to keep things simple. So when I'm in the schools, if a child was to ask me, Leon, what is health? I'm supposed to say to the child, good question, Johnny. Let me tell you. Health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. Wait, I haven't finished. Not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Now do you understand health? No, that's not a very easy definition to understand, yeah? So I went back online, I tried to find like an easier definition that I could use in the schools, something that just makes sense to them as soon as they hear it, makes sense to everyone. I was searching and searching and searching, and then I found one. And I found it very simple and easy to understand. And here's the definition. Health is energy. Simple and plain and simple. If you don't have any energy, you don't have health. Health is energy. Very simple to understand. And I can use this in the schools, I could use this in the colleges, I can use it in the universities, yeah? Now, the person who came up with this definition, like if you haven't heard of this person, you need to get to know this person. Like, I'm glad I found out about them. The person who I got this definition from, his name is Leo Marshall. It's me. So why do I say health is energy? Well, if you was to look inside of your body, remember I said your body's made of atoms. Atoms create molecules. Molecules create cells. So your body is just made up of trillions and trillions of cells. You've got muscle cells, heart cells, lung cells, pancreas cells, nerve cells. All living cells need energy to stay alive. Every single one of them need energy to stay alive. So when I go into the schools, I like to get the children to shout it like health equals, and they'll say energy. But then some smart child might say, but what's energy? And instead of me breaking it down like Albert Einstein, like energy equals MC squared, like, because that's all energy is really. It is all about vibrations. However, just to make it even easier for the children to understand, instead of saying energy is about vibrational frequencies and about electromagnetism and that sort of stuff, to make it even more easy than that, health equals energy, and energy equals movement. Because if something vibrates, it's moving. So health equals energy, and energy equals movement. That means if you're not moving, there's no way you're going to be healthy. You see how that works? Health equals energy, energy equals movement. In order to stay healthy, guess what you need to do? Move, yeah? So you can look at it like a scale. Energy in versus energy out. And if that's balance, you're going to be a healthy human being. That's what balance is, health, balance, ma'at. However, if there's an imbalance, this could lead to health issues. That imbalance could be too much sugar. That imbalance could be too much fat or salt. Or it could be an imbalance of hormones or imbalance of emotions. If there's an imbalance, it's going to lead to health issues. Now again, health equals energy, and I can use this with the children. Children get it straight away. You know why children understand the concept straight away? Because most of their computer games are based on the main character having energy to stay alive. So what game is this? Close. Mortal Kombat, yes. And this is Scorpion, and this is Sub-Zero. Look at Scorpion's energy bar. Look at Sub-Zero's. Who's about to get finished? Very easy to understand. Health, finish him. Health equals energy. Yeah? The children get this concept straight away. However, when I'm teaching health in the universities, I don't use this because even though a lot of the university students, they're 18 plus, they might be on computer games. They don't understand it from this point of view, but they sure do understand it from this point of view. Trust me, they understand it from this point of view. So if health equals energy, it's just like the energy on your phone. When the energy on your phone is low, what do? We want to charge it up. We want to run around charging it up, yeah? Like when I'm lecturing in bigger lecture theatres than this, like people will literally stop my lecture to try and find a plug to plug in. If the only plug in the lecture theatre is behind me, I'll see a student coming down the stairs. I'm like, where you going? Oh, no, I've got to plug my phone in. Sorry. And then he'll interrupt my class just to plug his phone in, because this, to them, is the worst thing in the world. This is the worst thing in the world. Your battery being low, not having any energy, your batteries being low on your phone is the worst thing in the world. Well, guess what? Your cells are like batteries. So your cells need to get charged up as well. Your cells need to be charged up as well. So here's the question. Are you charged up? Where should I? Yeah? I mean, generally speaking.
Sorry, I've been cheeky.
Let me see if I can use this. Or maybe not. Oh, there you go. All right. Oh, it's got writing on it. I'll just use this instead. If I was to ask you, are you charged up? Or what charges you up? A good night's sleep. Water. So I heard sleep. Water. What else? Food. Food. Okay. Food. Outside. Outside. Sun. Exercise. I was ask you, what charges you up? What charges up your cells? Rest. Okay. Meditation. We got sun there. Okay. Meditation. Music. Other people. And yes, sex. Laughter. Okay, keep that in mind. So, this is what charges you guys up. I hope everyone can see that. This is what you have said charges you up. This is what charges up your cells, yeah? Now, so, if your cells are just like the cells on your phone and they need charging up, we need to ask ourselves, where do we get our energy from? Well, this is where you guys say you get your energy from. This is what charges you up. However, you are on a science course. This is the hidden science of Black Holistic Health. So let's get into a little bit of science now. Again, you might remember this from school. The periodic table of elements, yeah? So the periodic table of elements shows all the elements in the known universe, yeah? Now, obviously you're not gonna know all of them, but there's some that you obviously know. Hydrogen, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, you got fluorine, what else have you got? Copper, zinc, nickel, iron, manganese, chromium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, sodium. These are all the minerals or elements that are in the universe, yeah? But without even remembering what you learned at school, without even me telling you what the most important elements are, you'd be able to know just from simple logic. So if I was to ask you, because again, you've got carbon, you've got oxygen, you've got sodium, magnesium, potassium, all of that stuff. If I was to ask you, for you as a human being, what are the four most important elements? What are the four most important elements? Well, this is what charges you up, yeah? So a lot of people said food charges them up, yeah? Okay, how long could you live without food? A couple of weeks, a few days. There's people that's gone months without food. Like, that's what fasting is. Yeah? So you can go months without food. Yeah? So that means food can't be the most important thing with regards to your health, because you can go months without it. Water. How long can you go without water? About 3 days. About 3 days? Yeah? A week without water? Okay. So 3 days maybe. Okay. So that means water's more important than food. Yeah? Water becomes more important than food. All right. How long can you go without oxygen? How long? Minutes? Seconds maybe. Yeah? So what's the most important element that your body needs? Oxygen. Oxygen becomes the most important thing that your body needs. It's the most important element on the periodic table. You don't even need to know all the others. You know the most important one is oxygen, because without oxygen, you can't survive seconds. You can survive minutes without water or days without water. You can survive months without food. You can't survive seconds without oxygen. So oxygen becomes the most important element on the periodic table for you as a human being with regards to your health and charging you up. What's number 2? Water. So that means that hydrogen becomes the second most important element, because hydrogen plus oxygen equals water. Water is H2O. Yeah? H2O. 2 hydrogens, 1 oxygen. So you now know the most important element is oxygen. That's just from simple logic. And then hydrogen. So you've got something to breathe, because breathing becomes the most important thing, because you need to breathe to stay alive and be energized. So that's why people said being outside. Yeah. Now you've got something to drink. There's your water. Then you just need something to eat now. So what would be the third most important element? Yeah, what element would that be? Carbon. Because when you add carbon to hydrogen and oxygen, what do you get? CHO. That's your carbohydrates. There's carbohydrates, CHO, carbohydrates. And we breathe carbon dioxide out. Yeah. So oxygen becomes the most important. Hydrogen, second, because we need water. Then we need to eat. This is our fruits and vegetables. This is our plants. Yeah. Carbon. And then lastly, now this one might be hard, but lastly, the last most important element is, they say we need protein. Well, in order to have protein, you just need to add nitrogen to those 3. And now you've got protein. So when you add nitrogen to carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, it creates a protein or an amino acid. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, that's your carbohydrates. That's your food. Yeah? And hydrogen and oxygen, that's your water. Oxygen by itself, that's your air. Yeah? So that was a good one, being outside. Yeah? But right next to outside is the sun. So what about energy from the sun? Well, if you think about it, the sun energizes everything on the planet. The sun energizes the plants. So the fruits and vegetables that we're eating, they get energized from the sun. And then in order for us to get the sunlight energy, we either eat the animals that eat the plants that get the energy from the sun, or we eat the plants that get the energy from the sun. So we cut out the middleman. Yeah? So this is the way we get energy from the sun. All right? Now, when I do this in the schools, the children are fascinated. They're like, how does the plant get energy from the sun? And that's when I need to talk about chlorophyll. So it's the chlorophyll, which is the green pigment in leaves that helps the plants to absorb or trap light energy from the sun to make food. Yeah? And this is in your notes. So photosynthesis is the process by which the leaves of plants use light energy to make sugar and oxygen from carbon dioxide and water. And I'm curious, show of hands, who got taught about photosynthesis at school? Every single one of us. Look at that. Every single one of us got taught about photosynthesis in school. Yeah? But did we understand it though? Because look, when we look at it like this, that looks like a very complex equation. And again, they like to teach science in a very complex way. Yeah? Because remember, what did Albert Einstein say? Albert Einstein said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. That's what Albert Einstein said. Now, I agree with that statement, but I'd take it one step further. I'd say, if you can't explain it simply, whatever you're explaining, it means you don't understand that subject well enough. Or you do, you just don't want me to understand it. So you explain it to me in a complex way, in a confusing way, so I don't get it. So all of us were taught photosynthesis at school, but did we truly understand it? So it's showing you the equation there, which is true. This is the equation for photosynthesis. But when I'm in the schools, I don't show them that because that is confusion. I show them visuals. Yeah? So I show them that the sunlight hits the leaves, and then the leaves do two things. Once they get the water from the soil, the leaves do two things. They breathe out oxygen and they breathe in carbon dioxide. Yeah? And why do they do that? Because they're trying to create food internally for the plant. So photosynthesis, this is what I show the children because I feel like it's a simpler equation. Water plus carbon dioxide in the presence of sunlight equals oxygen and glucose. This is a very simple way of understanding photosynthesis. Water plus carbon dioxide in the presence of sunlight equals oxygen and glucose. Now, what does the plant do with the glucose? It uses the glucose as food internally. It charges up the plant, charges up the stem. Yeah? So they use the glucose as food internally. What does it do with the oxygen? What does the plant do with the oxygen? Breathes it out. Because oxygen to the plant is like a byproduct. The plant does not need oxygen. So the plant breathes out the oxygen. So it creates it and then it breathes it out. Now, why is this important for our health? Well, in every single one of our cells, because remember we said that our cells need energy. Yeah? Every single one of our cells, they just need two things to create that energy. Those two things are oxygen and glucose. So as long as our cells get oxygen and glucose, they will produce what they call ATP, which is the energy inside of the cell. But the byproducts will be water and carbon dioxide. Now I find this fascinating because does anyone see a link here? So our cells need glucose and oxygen. And when our cells get glucose and oxygen, they're going to produce energy, which is ATP, inside of the cell. And the byproducts are going to be carbon dioxide and water. And the plants need carbon dioxide and water, and they're going to produce oxygen and glucose. It's like a symbiotic relationship between us and the plants. They need us, and we need them. What they breathe out, we breathe in, and what we breathe out, they breathe in. Ain't that fascinating? The fact that there's a link between us and the plants. They need us and we need them. That's why it's so important to be outside, to be breathing in that oxygen that the plants are releasing into the air. Yeah? So our cells just need two things, oxygen and glucose. And to show further the relationship between us and plants, if you were to look at the molecular structure of a plant cell, the molecular structure of a plant cell and compare it to a red blood cell, look at the similarities. So this is your red blood cell. And in your red blood cell, you've got hemoglobin. And in the plant cell, it's got chlorophyll. Now, the molecular structure, the shape of it is exactly the same. The only difference, really, it's got the nitrogen, the carbon, yeah? Literally, the only difference is in your blood, the middle element is Fe. What's Fe? Iron. And the middle element in the plant cell is Mg. What's Mg? Magnesium. That's the only difference between your red blood cell and a plant cell, is the core element, the element that's right in the middle. Now, that element that's in the middle is very important because iron, what does iron do to oxygen? It attracts it, yeah? It attracts it like a magnet. So we need iron to attract the oxygen. Magnesium now, on the other side, does various things. Magnesium, I call it like the mother mineral. It does so many things inside of the body, but gets no credit for it, yeah? So magnesium is needed to transport things inside of the body like ATP. Now we're gonna go into this next week, but ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate, yeah? And if we talk about our cells being charged up, our cell being charged up is ATP. That's our fully charged cell. Our cells not being charged up or partially charged up, they call that ADP, adenosine diphosphate. In order for it to go from ADP to ATP, magnesium has to escort the extra phosphate to create ATP. In other words, in order for your cells to have energy, you need magnesium present. Without magnesium, you won't have the energy, the ATP. That's how important magnesium is, yeah? And where do we get magnesium from? Because we need oxygen. Remember, your cells need oxygen and glucose. So the iron is the oxygen attractor. So your cells need two things. Glucose and oxygen, and it will produce energy. So the iron attracts this, and then in order for this to happen, you need magnesium. So magnesium becomes a very, very, very important mineral inside of the body when it comes up to charging your cells. So let's go back to our energy balance, which is like a scale. You now know for every cell in your body, it just needs two things, oxygen and glucose. As long as your cell gets oxygen and glucose, it will produce all the energy that your body needs for all of your bodily functions. Yeah? So, if we go by my definition that health is energy, the question then becomes, are you energized? In other words, which one are you on a regular basis? Which one would you point to? Which one would you say you are on a daily basis? Interesting. Interesting. Again, when I do this in the schools and I say, which one are you to the children, guess what they point to? That one, I'm that one. They're jumping up and down telling me it's that one. Yeah, I'm that one. None of them point this way. But adults, every time I do it with adults, I don't know. What day are we talking about? Like, what time of the day? Yeah? So that shows we're not energized. And health equals energy. And why? Why are we not energized? Well, it could be. It's down to the environment, but it could be down to these red foods as well. Because remember, when you eat red foods, literally, your blood sugar goes through the roof. Then the body has to release insulin, which is a hormone. Insulin's job is to take the sugar out of the blood and deposit it in your muscle cells and or your fat cells. And when that's deposited, your blood sugar goes down. And how do you feel down here? You feel like this, innit? You're at work, lethargic, yeah? So what do you want to eat when you're like this? Those high sugary foods again. So then it goes up and down, up and down, up and down, yeah, throughout the day. So what do you need to balance it out? Literally, to balance out, you need green foods. Now, I know we've done the red, amber, green, but I literally mean green foods will help to balance out your blood sugar levels. Green foods will help balance it out as opposed to you going up and down, up and down, up and down. And remember, the red foods, we are addicted to them. And now you know there's science behind that because that's due to dopamine. So, if health equals energy and you are not energized, then how can you increase your energy levels? Well, this is simple because I like to keep things simple. You just need to increase your powers. Just need to increase your powers. Now, I know what you're thinking. Powers? Powers? What powers? In order to increase your energy levels, you need to increase these powers, and this is in your notes. P stands for plants, preferably green. You now know why green, because of the chlorophyll. The chlorophyll is what captures the light energy, yeah? So this is on page 4. O stands for oxygen. We now know the most important element on the periodic table is what? Oxygen. And omegas though. Now omega stands for your omega-3 and your omega-6 fatty acids. We're going to go over that next week. We're going to go over essential fatty acids next week. Very important to understand the importance of omegas. So O stands for oxygen and omegas. What does W stand for? Water, for hydration. Yeah? E stands for exercise. And I've put in brackets there, every day. Every day, because if health equals energy and energy equals movement, that means you need to be moving every day. Some people, when I say exercise, they think, yeah, but the gym is too expensive. No, exercise just means movement. You don't have to join the gym. Yeah? Moving on a daily basis. Exercise every day. And then the R stands for rest. Or you could say recovery. Because if you're exercising every day, you might need to recover from it. Or repair. When does your body get a chance to repair the damage that's happened internally? Or rejuvenate. Yeah, sleep. This comes under the R. So the R is rest, recover, repair, rejuvenate. Even looking at your smartphone. Sometimes you have to reset your smartphone for it to work properly. Yeah? So when do you reset yourself? Rest. And then the S, what's the S? Sunlight. And in particular, UVB rays. UV stands for ultraviolet. UVB, yeah? All right. So these are the powers that we need to increase. Now, you know what's interesting about this, and I do this all the time. Every time I'm explaining science to people, they go on to say, it's like I know this stuff already. It's literally like I know this stuff already, because when I asked you what charges you up, guess what you said? Food, that's your plants. You said oxygen, yeah, outside. You said water. You said exercise. You said rest. And you said sun. It's like you knew this stuff already. So in order for you to charge up your cells, you need powers. You need to increase your powers. So let's go through each one individually. Plants, preferably green. Why green? Because of chlorophyll. Now, when I talk about green plants and I ask people to name green plants, they always say the obvious, like, oh, kale. Okay, we know about kale. We know about kale now. Name some other ones. Spinach. What else? Broccoli. Yeah. Yeah. Callaloo. Yeah. So there's a lot out there. And when I say plants, I mean a plant-based diet. So even though you want to go for the greens to balance out your sugar and balance out things, when I say plants, it doesn't just mean eating green plants. It means eating a plant-based diet. So guess what? Nuts and seeds, they come from plants. Fruits and vegetables, they come from plants. Your herbs, if you're drinking herbal tea and all that, that comes from plants. Even certain grains, like we're going to go over grains in week 4, like quinoa and spelt and all that sort of stuff. So when I say a plant-based diet, it doesn't just mean eating rabbit food. It's literally all the things that come from a plant, yeah? So there's a wide variety of things we could, and your lentils and that sort of stuff. That's all coming from plants. So when I say plants, plant-based, but preferably green because of the chlorophyll. What sort of quantity? Okay, so we will go through what to eat in week 4, yeah? So if you go to the front page, it's actually week 4 where we go over healthy eating guidelines, what foods to eat, what foods to avoid, and that sort of stuff. And the reason why we wait until week 4 is because we need to get the science in first. Because you start to understand the science, when I turn around and say, here's what we should be eating, it will make total sense to you. However, if I say it today, we're going to get arguments like, oh no, but we should be eating this and we should be eating that and blah, blah, blah. So let's get the science out of the way. Then week 4 now, when I say this is what we should be eating, like for example, this is what we should be drinking, this has got what I call, what they call chlorella in it, you'll understand the science behind it, yeah? And that's one thing that we're missing. We're missing the science behind it. We're getting told what we should eat and all that sort of stuff, and we're just believing people. Even believing credible people, like Dr. Sebi and that sort of people. Those sort of people, we just believe them. But where's the science? Remember, my definition of science is logic backed up by evidence. I don't believe a word anyone says. Anyone, I couldn't care less who they are. I do my research. I listen to them. So, for example, Malcolm X, I'll listen to him and then he says something, I'll be like, that resonated with me. Let me find out if it's true. I'm not just going to believe it because Malcolm X said it. Same with Dr. Sebi. Dr. Sebi says something, I'll be like, that resonated with me. Let me do some research and find out if it's true. I'm not just going to believe it because Dr. Sebi said it, yeah? So that's why it's so important for us to get the knowledge base, the science behind it. So plants. All right, and speaking of Dr. Sebi, he said that the body is electric. And again, I don't believe a word anyone says. So when he said that, I had to do research. And again, they call these things smartphones. I don't know why they call them smart, but I always say to people, you should make your phone smart. In other words, use it to do research and find out some stuff. Yeah? So don't believe a word I say on this course. We all have smartphones. Make your phone smart. Do some research. Dr. Sebi said the body is electric. Let's find out if that's true. A simple Google search will find that the body is electric. This is an ECG. An electrocardiogram is a test which measures the electrical activity of your heart to show whether or not it is working normally. So that shows that the heart is electric. What else? What about an EEG? A test used to find problems related to electrical activity of the brain. So your heart and your brain are electric. The body is electric. You can do your research and find out the body is actually electric. And again, when it comes to doing your research, Dr. Sebi has an electric food diet, yeah? And it's online. You just type it in, Dr. Sebi electric food diet, and you can find it. This is it here. So you don't need to take a picture of it. You can do your own research and find it and download it. Dr. Sebi has an electric food diet, what he says you should be eating. And again, it's a plant-based diet. Even oils come under, vegetable oils come under plants, yeah? Spices and seasons, look, everything. This is all plant-based, grains, nuts and seeds, vegetables. So the people that say, oh, there's no variety when you're eating plants. Look at all this. Yeah? And that's not the whole of his list as well. What else did Dr. Sebi say? He said anything God made is on the alkaline side. Why? Because the molecular structure is complete. And he said that anything man-made has to have starch. Starch is a binder. Yeah? So he was big on this acid-alkaline thing. Yeah? He was very big on acids and alkalines. Right? So if we look at the acid and alkaline scale, the pH scale, it goes from 1 to 14, and 7 is neutral, yeah? So anything below 7 is acidic. Anything above 7 is alkaline, yeah? But he was saying, and he says a lot, we need to have an alkaline diet, and we need to avoid acids. That's what he says. He says we need to avoid acids and just stick to alkaline. Now again, he's one of the greatest. When it comes onto this black holistic health stuff, he's one of the greats that I listen to. But again, I can't believe a word everyone says. I have to go with my own logic and do my own research. So when I was doing my own research, I started to ask my question. Ask the obvious question, does acid mean bad? So if you look at the pH scale, 7 is neutral. This is what water should be. 7 is neutral. Water should be neutral. You'll probably find that most waters, if you was to test them, they'd probably be 6 point something. So they're slightly acidic because of the stuff that they put in, the fluoride or whatever, yeah? Anything above 7 is alkaline. Anything below 7 is acidic. And the lower the number, the more acidic it is. And it's by a power of 10. So 5 is 10 times more acidic than 6. 4 is 100 times more acidic. 3 is 1,000 times more acidic. Yeah, so it gets much more acidic. Yeah? But does... How can you test? Oh, we done that in school. Don't you remember the litmus test? You used to use it and then put it on a solution, and then a color would turn up, and then the color would determine whether it's acid or alkaline. So we did this in school, but we never related it to us. A lot of the stuff that we learned at school, it could have been related to us, but they never related it to us. So we just go away thinking science is, it's confusing, man. I hate science. But look at this. We need it. We need to understand this stuff. Acids and alkaline. But are acids bad? Again, my background is anatomy and physiology and fitness and that sort of stuff. When I'm exercising, my body creates lactic acid, yeah? So my body creates acid. So are acids bad? What about if I'm eating food? There's something in my stomach that has to break down the food. What's that called? Hydrochloric acid. So without hydrochloric acid, my stomach can't break down food. In other words, my stomach can't break down all the alkaline electric foods that I should be eating. So I need acids in my body. Hydrochloric acid. What about when I'm exercising? The people who exercise on a regular basis. I'm working my muscles. My muscles are made of what? Amino acids. Muscles are made of proteins. Proteins are made of amino acids. So on. My muscles are made of acids. And what about my genes? What genes are your DNA? DNA, does anyone know what that stands for? Deoxyribonucleic, that's the N. And then the A stands for acids. So if acids are bad, that means you're bad because you're made of acids. When your body's breaking down fats, it breaks it down into fatty acids. You're made of acids. So if acids are bad, you're bad. That's it. There you go. It's about balance. Acids and alkalines, yeah? So these are acid-forming foods. And you could probably guess what the acid-forming foods are. All the junk food, all the red foods that we mentioned earlier, yeah? And these are alkaline-forming foods, yeah? Now, very interesting. Now, this ain't in your notes, so you might want to write this down. The sis mentioned balance. Your blood wants to be at 7.365. That's balance for your blood. Your blood wants to be at 7.365. If you look it up online, they might tell you a range, like 7.2 to 7.4. So all of this alkaline, 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 your blood doesn't want to be alkaline. It literally wants to be balanced. Your blood just wants to be around 7.2 to 7.4. Yeah? 7.365 if you was to get precise. Now this is why, again, I love studying science, because 7.365, talk about intelligent design. Like 7 days a week, 365 days a year, your blood wants to be balanced. Doesn't want to be acid, doesn't want to be alkaline, it just wants to be balanced. Because that's what health is. Health is about balance. Yeah? All right, now just before we go to break, let me show you this. Acids and alkalines, yeah? So, again, we can't just go with acids are bad and alkaline is good. Because when I'm studying science, I've realized that when you're studying the universe, because that's all science is to me, studying the universe, nothing in the universe is inherently bad. The universe is just the universe. Yeah, nothing in the universe is inherently bad. So for example, if I was to say to you, someone put water there, if I was to say to you, is water good or bad? What would you say? It's good. Well, it can hydrate you, but what else could it do? You can drown you. All right, so if you can't swim and you get pushed in the deep end of water or a swimming pool, that water is going to be very bad for you. What about fire? Is fire good or bad? So fire can warm up your home, make your home feel nice and cozy, but what else can fire do? And it can cook your food, and it can burn your house down. So is fire good or bad? Fire is just fire. That's the way we need to understand things in the universe. They just are. It just is. Water just is. Oxygen just is. Is oxygen good or bad? We just said that oxygen is the most important element that your body needs for health. But what's oxidation? That's when the oxygen attaches itself and starts to degrade or damage cells and that sort of stuff. So is oxygen good or bad? We need to start understanding things from a scientific perspective, and that means nothing is inherently good or bad. You know when things become good or bad? Nah, when man-made, some person, human being, does something to it. In other words, there's nothing wrong with this drink, but then man comes along and says, let me put some chemicals in this drink. Add a little bit of chemicals. Let me call it Coca-Cola. Oh, it's gone black now. Okay, now let me sell that. Now you can say that's bad, yeah? But things in the universe that haven't been touched by anyone, no human being, or no mankind or anything like that, nothing is inherently good or bad. So when we're talking about acids and alkalines, we can't say acids are bad. However, we do live in an obesogenic environment, and the obesogenic environment promotes acids over alkaline. So the reason why Dr. Sebi says we need more of an alkaline diet is because we're imbalanced. We need more of an alkaline diet just to bring us back into balance. Yeah? So it's not that acids are bad, it's just that we live in an obesogenic environment that promotes acids to us. So we're off balance. We need more of an alkaline diet to balance that out. Yeah? All right, any questions? All right, so just before the break then, let's just quickly go through this. Look at this. This is a couple examples of things that are acid and alkaline. So look at what is the most acidic. Battery acid, look how acidic that is. Your stomach acid, look how acidic that is. Lemon juice, yeah? So if acids are bad, that means lemons and limes are bad because they've got citric acid in them. However, they have an alkalizing effect on the body. That's the reason why if you look at this, alkaline foods, you've got lemons and limes and grapefruit, but they've got acids in them. Why? Because after the body digests them and assimilates them, they have an alkalizing effect on the body, yeah? What else? Tomato juice, coffee, look how acidic coffee is. Then pure water should be balanced, and then let's go alkaline. Seawater, baking soda, antacid tablets, soap, ammonia, bleach, and drain cleaner. Yeah. Look at that, look how alkaline they are. Remember, the same way this works, 10 times more, is the same way this works. So 9 is 10 times more alkaline than 8. It's 100 times more alkaline than 10, and going all the way up. So bleach is extremely alkaline. So if we just go by what Dr. Sebi says, we need alkaline, and avoid acids, well then drink some bleach and see if you stay healthy. Yeah? This is why we need to apply logic. Because bleach is extremely alkaline. You drink bleach, you'll be extremely alkaline. You'll be extremely dead as well, though. And that's interesting because at the extremes, how does it feel? So for example, if you was to get battery acid on your skin, how would it feel? It would burn you because it's extremely acidic. However, if you was to get bleach on your skin, how would it feel? It burns you because it's extremely alkaline. So at the extremes, it will still have the same effect. It will burn, yeah? And think about that internally. So if there's alkaline, if you've got something that's alkaline internally and it's high in alkalinity, it's going to burn your cells internally. All right. So we was going through acids and alkaline. So Dr. Sebi said, the body is electric. We need an alkaline diet. But we now understand that we can't just go by what he said. We understand what he said, though. The reason why he said we need an alkaline diet is because we're all too very acidic. Now, the easiest way to understand acids and alkalines is to understand what they do. So, going back to what we done at the beginning, an atom, the smallest unit of matter, atoms combine together to form molecules. Atoms are made of subatomic particles, protons, neutrons, and electrons. So you've got in the middle, you've got the nucleus, which is made of neutrons and protons. Around the orbit in the atom, you have the electrons, yeah? Now, to understand this, all you need to do is understand what protons, neutrons, and electrons are. So you know that the electron, the flow of electrons is electricity. What makes up the nucleus is the protons and the neutrons. Now remember, the universe is electromagnetic. So these have electric charges to them. The proton carries a positive electric charge. The electron carries a negative electric charge. What does the neutron carry? Neutral. Neutral. So proton carries a positive charge, electron carries a negative charge, and a neutron is neutral. And if you was to look at it as like a flat diagram, it would look like this. In the middle, you've got the protons and the neutrons in the nucleus, and orbiting the atom, you have the electrons whizzing round, yeah? And again, this is inside of your body. This is what's happening inside of your body. And again, this is why I love to study science, because when I'm studying science, I'm literally studying the universe. When I started to realize this is what an atom is, and look at an atom and the electrons around the nucleus, I started to think to myself, wow, that reminds me of something. Doesn't that remind you of this? Exactly, it's the same thing. As above, so below. So when you study the universe, you no doubt end up studying yourself. Yeah? As above, so below. Now, to understand what an acid and alkaline do, if you turn to page 5, it explains what acids are. Yeah? So I've got some electrons here. Electricity is the flow of electrons. So that's the electron. What sort of charge does it carry? A negative charge. What about the proton? It carries a positive charge. And then the neutron carries a neutral charge. All right. Let's get some electricity flowing around the room. So I'm an atom, and I've got these electrons orbiting me. They're going around me, yeah? Now, if they stay around me, that's not electricity, because electricity is the flow, the movement of these things, yeah? So as soon as one of these electrons moves from one atom to another, that is the flow of electrons. That is electricity. So everyone stand up. Let's get some electricity flowing around the room. If you just pass this round, just pass it round. You pass that round. Keep on passing it around. Pass it round. And here's another one. And here's another one. Pass them round. Make sure everyone gets one. Keep on passing it round. Pass it, pass it, pass it, pass it. Keep on passing it around. Keep on passing it around. All right, 3 seconds. Let's go, quick. 3, 2, 1. All right, now pass it back all the way to the front now. Keep on going. I'm going to time you this time. Let's do it a bit faster. 10 seconds. See now, electrons flowing faster. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. All right, pass it here. Throw it to me. Throw it to me. 1. Throw it. 2. Throw it. 3. And 4. Thank you. All right, take a seat. That was the flow of electrons. Yeah? That was the flow of electrons. Now, going up from the bottom up, did everyone get an electron? Everyone got it. What about coming back down? Not everyone got it. All right, cool. So The electron, the flow of electrons. You were all atoms and we were passing around electrons. That's what electricity is. Now, what's an acid? An acid, like it says in your notes, accepts electrons. So every time an electron got passed to you and you accepted it, you was acting like an acid. That's what acids do. They accept electrons. What does alkaline substance do? Alkaline do the opposite. They donate electrons. So alkaline do this. Acids do this. Yeah? So in order for electricity to flow, guess what you need? Both. Because if you've just got alkaline, you've just got someone who's got loads of electrons saying, hey, I've got some electrons here. Anyone want some electrons? I've got some electrons. Anyone? And if you just had acids, you'd just have someone saying, hey, give me some electrons. You need both. You need someone to donate the electron, and then you need someone to accept it. That's acids and alkalines. That's the reason why you've got hydrochloric acid in your stomach. Yeah? Because acids accept electrons. If Dr. Sebi is right and the body is electric and we need an electric food diet, we need a diet that's going to donate electrons to it. So if we eat an alkaline diet that's going to donate electrons, then we're going to have to need acids inside of us to accept them. Yeah? So your body is an acid structure that runs on electrons. Now this is something that I've never heard anyone in the UK say. I actually got this idea from a guy named Minister Inky. So shout out to Minister Inky, Dr. Inky, he calls himself online now. He was the one that really brought this to my attention. Your body is an acid structure that runs on electrons. You're made of proteins. Proteins are made of amino acids. You're made of DNA. DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. Your genes are acid. Yeah? Proteins are acid. Skin is acid. So you're made of acids. Hydrochloric acid in your stomach. When you start to exercise, your body generates lactic acid. You're full of fatty acids. You're made of acids. So, if you're made of acids, you need an alkaline fuel source to donate the electron. Remember, the electron has a negative charge. The protons have a positive charge. Now, if you don't have alkaline food source, that means you're going to be getting a lot of protons. That becomes a very acidic environment internally because you're already made of acids. So if you're made of acids and you eat an acidic diet, that is, go back to school. When they tell you about opposite charges, they say opposite charges attract. What do they say about the same charge? Repels. So if you're acid, which means you carry more of a positive charge, because you're acid, and you eat an acidic diet, that's going to be repulsive. That's going to cause ill health. Yeah? Because you're made of acids, therefore you need an alkaline fuel source. You see how when you break it down, when you listen to Dr. Sebi, now what he said makes sense now. Yeah? He says we need an alkaline diet and we need to avoid acids. Well, it's not that acids are bad, it's you're made of acids and acids accept electrons. So you need a fuel source that's going to donate these electrons to you. Yeah? Now, yes, brother.
Is there any part of us that are alkaline?
Yes, yeah. So there's different, our body is made up of various organs and each organ has a different pH. Yeah? So obviously your stomach is going to be very, very acidic. Yeah? But there are other parts of us that require different pH levels. So you might have to do your own research to see what organs. Don't quote me on this, but I think the pancreas requires more of an alkaline pH. But there are different parts of us that require different pHs, which is interesting because, again, going back to blood wants to be 7.365. So blood wants to be neutral. And the blood carries around the nutrients. So the blood's going to carry around the acids and the alkalines and donate it to wherever it's needed, what organs need it, yeah? So the blood wants to be neutral, but different parts of your body are going to require different pHs. But overall, that's why it says your structure, what you're literally made of, your structure is acidic. Your DNA is acidic. Your amino acids, all of that stuff. So we need an alkaline fuel source. All right. let's try and do this a bit faster. Now remember, with the flow of electrons comes what? All right, let's try and get to the back. Let's try and get to the back. Actually, let me start at the back and go forward. This time, let's do it quite fast. Let's see if we can get it all the way down to the bottom in 10 seconds. 2, go, 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 go. Quick, go, quick. 9, 8, stand up. 7, 6, 5, keep on passing it around. 4, keep on passing it around. 3, 2, 1. Okay, pass it, pass it. You're done, finish. 1, pass it. 1, 2, 3. So this is the flow of electrons. 4, 1 more. Thank you. Ta. Thank you. All right, take a seat. All right, now, I do this with the children, yeah? So when I do this with the children, they start to understand acids and alkalis. So acids accept, alkalis donate, yeah? So that was the flow of electricity. Now, if we continue to do that faster, what's it going to generate in us? Heat. Heat. We're all going to get hot, like, oh my God, you're going to get hot. So that's the flow of electricity. With the flow of electricity comes heat. Now, if we was to do this fast enough, what would this start to look like? Light. Light. So with electricity comes heat, light, and you guys are moving. That's vibrations. So that's vibration as well, yeah? So now you understand it from a kinesthetic point of view. That's you just passing around that. It's heat, light, vibration, and that sort of stuff. But some of you didn't get it, yeah? So some of you got this, some of you didn't get it, yeah? Now when I do this in the schools, sometimes the children get upset when they don't get one of these. Like we'll be playing the game and I'll be like, okay, stop, give me back the electrons. And one of the children will be like, sorry, sir, I didn't get an electron. Yeah. And I'll be like, don't worry, Johnny, we're going to play it again after lunch, don't worry. And then that child is like upset. Like, no, how come I never got an electron? Yeah? So when we play it after lunch, guess what Johnny's like? He's the first to it, like. And he don't even want to pass it now. So he's like, no, I'm keeping this. You know why? Because you lot didn't give it to me last time, yeah? Well, if you can understand that, you can understand what free radicals and antioxidants are. So a healthy atom has a balanced amount of electrons in its orbit, yeah? Free radicals are the atoms that are unbalanced. They need an electron to balance themselves out. Now, if they don't get that electron, guess what they're going to go around doing? Stealing, taking, snatching it, yeah? That's what free radicals do. Now, the electron is the information, it's the electricity. So if you've got free radicals in your body stealing electricity, it's literally stealing life from your cells, yeah? So if you've got free radicals stealing electrons from your face, you're going to start to wrinkle and go and look old very quickly because of free radicals going around stealing electrons. So what do antioxidants do? People say, oh, we need more antioxidants in our diet. Antioxidants come around with an extra electron and say, hey, free radical, don't steal, here you go, and balances it out, yeah? That's how important antioxidants are, yeah? And why are they called antioxidants? Anti means what? Against. Oxidant means oxygen. Because, like we said earlier, oxygen is neither good or bad. Yes, oxygen, we need it for breathing, but oxygen, if it doesn't get the electron, becomes a free radical. And that free radical will lead to oxidation. What's oxidation? Oxidation is when something is losing electrons. That's what oxidation is. So if you cut an apple in half, it starts to oxidize. It's starting to lose electrons. Yeah? Because oxygen, if you looked up the definition of the word oxygen, oxy means acid. So oxygen is an acid. And what do acids do? They accept electrons. That's the reason why we need oxygen. Oxygen inside of us, so the oxygen can accept electrons because your body runs on electrons. That's the reason why if you was to cut an apple in half, the oxygen in the air starts to steal the electrons out of the apple. But how could you stop that from happening? What would you put over the apple? Lemon. Why? Because lemon is acidic. So now you've got oxygen that's an acid, and then you've got the lemon that's an acid. Acid repels. So that's the reason why when you put lemon over the apple, it doesn't brown. Because that's the same charge. Same charge repels, opposite charges attract. So if we're acidic, we need an alkaline diet. Yeah? All right. So that What part? That was a lot.
That part there, the same.
Same charge. So look at this. So opposite charges attract, same charge repels. So remember, the electron carries a negative charge. The protons carry a positive charge. Acids, if they start to steal electrons, you're going to have more of a positive charge. And that's more of an acidic environment. And Dr. Sebi says that's where everything grows, like illness grows.
Two opposite charges attract. So two negatives.
Two negatives repel and two positives repel. Same charge repels. So whether it's two negatives or two positives. Now this is interesting because, again, we're not going to really go deep into the nutrition until week 4. But just going by that, yeah? So we breathe out oxygen. We breathe out carbon dioxide and we breathe in oxygen. What do the plants do? They do the opposite. So they breathe out oxygen and breathe in carbon dioxide. So what should we be eating? We should be eating the plants because the plants are giving our cells exactly what they need, yeah? Think about this now. If you eat an animal, what does the animal breathe out? Carbon dioxide. The animal, we're animals. So if you're eating an animal, you're literally eating the same kind. In other words, something that's acidic. You're acidic, that's acidic. You eat it, that's same charge. That's the same charge.
Is that the same for fish?
I'm not sure. Fish, yeah, I'm not sure what charge they have. Well, Dr. Sebi says it just should be plants, just plants. So fish is not a plant, so just stick to plants, yeah? All right, so we've gone over plants a lot. That's the P in my powers. So remember, if you're low on energy, you need to increase your powers. P stands for plants. We've gone over that a lot. Now you understand what alkaline diet is, alkaline plants, electric plants, you understand that. What's O? Oxygen. So how can we get more oxygen inside of our body? Well, we've already said being outside with the plants so you can breathe in more oxygen. Someone put meditation there. That's breathing in more oxygen. It's like you guys know this stuff already. Might as well go home. You don't know it. Yeah? So oxygen, you're breathing in more oxygen being outside. You're breathing in more oxygen by doing meditation. So that's why a lot of people do yoga and meditation and that sort of stuff to get in more oxygen. But what's the easiest, most powerful way to get more oxygen inside of your body? Exercise. Exercise. When you exercise, you force your body to breathe in more oxygen. Yeah? When you exercise, you force your body to breathe in more oxygen. That's the reason why, like, even if you do an exercise and the body requires more energy than the body requires more oxygen, but you still do the activity, you have to repay the body back that oxygen. For example, if you was to run for the bus, let's say you run for the bus and you spent, 30 seconds running for the bus. When you catch the bus, how do you feel? They call that an oxygen debt. You're having to repay the body the oxygen that it had to use up, yeah? That's called an oxygen debt. The same way you have a debt with the bank and you have to repay the bank, you have to repay your body. Exercise is the most powerful way to get more oxygen inside of your body. You run for that bus and see if you can breathe the same way. You run for the bus, you catch the bus, it's deep breathing you're dealing with. It's like, all of that is breathing in more oxygen. More oxygen. So exercise is the most powerful way to breathe in more oxygen. Yeah? And I told you at the start, I come from a fitness background and I knew this from early. That's the reason why I created my own fitness magazine. So this is my fitness magazine, came out in 2016. And another thing about fitness magazines, when you look at the front covers, you don't see us on the front cover. So I literally got all of my friends and put them in my own fitness magazine and created my fitness magazine, yeah? Oh, and I've got some copies here for free. I'll give them out at the end if you want. So this is my fitness magazine, tells you all you need to know with regards to exercise, yeah? And it's all black people. Black fitness magazine, yeah. All right, thank you. All right, so that is the O. Oxygen, because we now know that obviously being outside and we need oxygen in our cells. But here's a question. Why no glucose? So we know that the body needs oxygen, but why haven't I mentioned glucose? Because if you go back to cellular respiration, remember, before the break, your cells need two things to create energy. glucose and oxygen. But I've just mentioned oxygen. Why haven't I mentioned glucose? Why? Because we store it, yeah. We are already full of glucose. That's what glucose is, it's sugar. We live in an environment that promotes sugar to us. Like literally, if I was to buy water, it would probably have sugar in it. Sugar's in everything. So if you're low on energy, it's obviously not because of sugar, because there's sugar all around. There's sugar, everything's made of sugar. That paper's probably made of sugar, yeah? So obviously, if we're low on energy, it can't be because of glucose. And if this is the equation for energy, it must be because of the other thing, oxygen. So we're low on oxygen. So every time we're low and we're at work and we're thinking, I'm low, you need oxygen. You don't need a Lucozade or something like that, yeah? We're full of glucose as well. Now, does anyone know who this guy is? This is why we need to start. Otto Warburg, exactly, yes. Otto Warburg. In 1931, he won the Nobel Prize. Why? Because he found out the root cause of cancer. What did he say? He said he discovered the root cause of cancer in 1923. Think about how long ago that was, 1923. He found the root cause of cancer and he received the Nobel Prize for doing so in 1931. Warburg was the director of the Kaiser Institute for Cell Physiology at Berlin. He investigated the metabolism of tumors and the respiration of cells, particularly cancer cells. Below are some of his quotes. He said that cancerous tissues are acidic, whereas healthy tissues are alkaline. Yeah? And then he goes on to say, lack of oxygen and acidosis are two sides of the same coin. Where you have one, you have the other. So he said that in his work, the metabolism of tumors, he demonstrated that all forms of cancer are characterized by two basic conditions: acidosis, too much acids, and hypoxia, lack of oxygen. So it's the lack of oxygen that creates cancer. The lack of oxygen. And he found this out in 1923. He goes on to say, all normal cells have an absolute requirement for oxygen, but cancer cells can live without oxygen, a rule without exception. All normal cells have an absolute requirement for oxygen. So remember, all your cells need what? Two things, oxygen and glucose. All your cells need oxygen and glucose, but he says that cancer cells can live without oxygen. So if cancer cells are living without oxygen, what are cancer cells living on? Glucose. So that means if you have anyone who's suffering from any type of cancer, they need to avoid glucose, because that's what the cancer cell thrives off of. And when I say glucose, I mean any glucose. That means fruits. That means certain types of vegetables. That means any processed food, because the cancer cell thrives off of this guy. That's it. Your cells need glucose and oxygen, but according to that scientist, the cancer cell can survive without oxygen. If it can survive without oxygen, it's surviving on glucose. Your cells can't survive without oxygen, but a cancer cell can. Yeah? It says here, deprive a cell of 35% of its oxygen for 48 hours and it may become cancerous. So that shows you how important oxygen is. That's the O. And we're going to talk about omegas next week. All right. W stands for water. Now, we all understand water. Now, water, if you go to your notes on page 1, I think water's week 3. Yeah? So again, water's a deep one. People are like, what water should we be drinking? Distilled water, alkaline water. I've got a machine and it electrifies water and all that sort of stuff. Okay, we're going to go into water in week 3. Yeah? So water, we'll talk about that in week 3. But we all understand the importance of water. And even going by my analogy, if the fish is sick, what should you do? Change the water. Well, think about the fish as your cells. If this is your cells and this is your body, your cells are only going to be as healthy as the water they're bathing in. Because remember, the human body is over 70% water. So if we're thinking about changing any environment, we need to think about our internal environment first. Thinking about this environment, we need to think about our internal environment before we even look at the obesogenic environment. Yeah? How do we change this internal water? Again, we're going to go over that in week 3. Now, I've put here, the more you live in an abnormal environment, the more you'll think it's normal. because we've been living in this abnormal environment so long, drinking water is abnormal. Drinking water is abnormal, yeah? Listen to this.
Now, Tony, I heard you don't drink.
I don't drink.
Well, we have that in common.
Yeah, I don't drink. I just stopped drinking. I used to drink, and I wasn't an alcoholic. Like, whenever you tell people you don't drink,
Yeah.
they always want an explanation. They always want to know what happened. Was it a problem? Was you beating your kids? Did you ruin marriages? Did you kill somebody in the vehicle? Like, what happened? We can't believe you don't drink poison. Explain to us why you don't drink poison. I don't get the shock. Like, if I was to tell somebody, man, I don't never drink water, they'd be like, oh, okay.
You tell someone you don't drink alcohol, they'll be like, why don't you drink alcohol? Why don't you drink alcohol? Or you tell someone you don't drink water, okay. It's the same with plants. Like, people ask me, what do you eat? And I'd be like, plant-based diet. That's it. If I was to ask someone, what do they eat? They'd probably say processed food or whatever, but they wouldn't be like, oh, why don't you eat plants? Like, plants should be the norm. Plants should be the norm, but we eat everything but plants, and that is abnormal. But because we've been living in this obesogenic environment for so long, we're starting to think that the abnormal is normal, yeah? So plants, oxygen, water. So, as long as you eat a plant-based diet and drink lots of water, you'll be optimally healthy, right? No. We're missing something. Exercise. Exercise. Yes, exercise. Because again, I said at the beginning that I'm from a fitness background, and when I was studying fitness, I started to realize that a lot of people that were into fitness weren't into health. So I'd speak to guys that go gym, and I'd be like, okay, what do you eat? And he's like, I'm leaving here to go Nando's and eat something. Or I'm going to the chicken shop. Like, they had no idea about what health was, but they were into fitness. Then I speak to people who are into fitness. I'm like, what exercise do you do? When do you exercise? No, I drink moringa tea and, I meditate and all that. No, but what about exercise? So the people who are into fitness are not into health. People who are into health are not into fitness. Didn't make sense to me, yeah? So I tried to combine the two. So exercise is extremely important for your health, because health equals energy and energy equals movement. So you need to move, and preferably outside. Now you know why, for oxygen, sunlight and that sort of stuff. And here's a tough one, preferably with your shoes and socks off, so your feet are touching the ground. Why is that important? Because when it comes to grounding, exactly, electrons, you get electrons from the ground. So these electrons that your body relies on, that we can get from food, you can get them from the ground as well. They come up through the ground. Because remember, the sun energizes everything. The sun energizes the fruits, the vegetables, the sun energizes us, the sun energizes the soil. The sun energizes, so when you're out in a park and all that sort of stuff, the sun's energizing the soil, the electrons start to come up, and your feet can absorb those electrons through your feet. That's the reason why I don't know if any of you have taken essential oils or known someone who's expert in essential oils. They always tell you to put the essential oils on the soles of your foot, because you're absorbing the electrons through your feet, yeah? So grounding, a lot of us are familiar with grounding. What we're not familiar with is how powerful it is and where to ground. So grounding on the grass, that's okay, yeah? Soil, you want soil, yeah? So if you want to ground on something, you want the soil. But you know what's the most powerful place to ground? Sand. That's the reason why when you go on holiday and you're walking on that sand, up that beach, you feel charged up, because you're getting energy coming through the sand. You're getting the electrons coming through the sand through your feet. Sand is the best place for grounding, yeah? So exercise, extremely important for our health, yeah? And I like to study the universe, and I feel like sometimes the universe gives us laws. They're unwritten laws. And I think this is an unwritten law of the universe. It's called the law of use. Now, instead of me telling you, you tell me, what does the law of use state? Use it or lose it. Use it or lose it. And that is every muscle in your body, yeah? Now remember, we forget organs are muscles as well. So if you're not using your organs properly, If you're not moving your organs, then you will lose them. They'll lose the energy. Free radicals will start to steal electrons out of them, and they will die because they don't have the electricity, the life. So everything needs to move. Everything. On a daily basis. Like literally when people say, oh, I don't exercise, I'm like, don't think about exercise as like gym and that sort of stuff. Like literally think about your body. Everything should move on a daily basis. Like think about your wrist. Your wrist does this, this, and that, and that. You should do that every day. Because if you don't, at some point, it will get stiff. And then when you try to do that movement, pain, yeah? Your elbow does this. You should do that on a daily basis, yeah? Think about what all your parts of your body do. There's a seat. But we're living in an environment where we're always sitting. We're always in this position, yeah? So everything's flexed and all that sort of stuff, yeah? So we're not moving. So everything needs to move or we'll get in trouble with regards to health, because health equals energy, energy equals movement. So ladies, everything needs to move, including these. These need to move as well, yeah? So they need to move. So when you're wearing bras that strap them down and they don't move, understand that's not healthy, because health equals energy and energy equals movement. When them things are not moving about, think about it. Electrons is the flow. Electricity is the flow of electrons. If those electrons can't flow and they stop moving, they start to coagulate, yeah? And when they coagulate, all of a sudden you start to feel a lump, because that's energy that wanted to move, but now it's coagulated because it's not moving, and now you've got a lump somewhere. So that's for women. Guys, that's your testicles, yeah? If it's not moving, all of a sudden, wow, hold on a second, you can feel something there. And then that can turn into cancer or tumor or whatever, because things need to move. Everything needs to move. Cyst, yeah. It's just built up. That's energy that should have been moving and it's coagulated and now it's just building up. So we need to get rid of this unhealthy situation that we're in. I don't know if you saw what I did there. So unhealthy situation. We're all sitting for way too long, and it's got to the point where sitting has like become the new smoking. Most of our pains are from sitting too long. So think about the common pain areas of the body: lower back pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, wrist pain, just from sitting. Like when I was growing up, I was so active. Me and my cousins, me and my friends, we were so active. If we were in pain, it's because we did something. Like, twisted my ankle or bust up my knee. Like I'll come home in pain and my mom would be like, what did you do? I was riding the bike and I tried to do a flip and I landed on my head, and I'm coming home in pain because I did something. These days, everyone's in pain and it's like, you got a lower back issue. Yeah, I got a lower back problem. What happened? Nothing. I just tried to pick up the pencil from the floor and then my back went. Like, we're not even doing anything. Like, and we've got all of these issues. We're not playing sport. We're not being physically active, but yet we got all this pain. And then it becomes a cycle because not moving creates all of this pain, yeah? Then what happens when you do move? Pain. So what do you go back to doing? Sitting, yeah? So not moving created the pain. Everything's stiff. And then you go to move. No, I'm not going to move. And then you just go back to just sitting and not moving, yeah? So exercise, movement. Health equals energy, energy equals movement. And then the R, rest. Rest or recover. If you're exercising, you might need to recover from it. Or repair. There's things in your body that are damaged. When do you get a chance to repair? It should be during sleep. That's when your body goes into the repairing mode, yeah, during sleep. So when is your body repairing things, yeah? Or replenish. Your hormones are getting used throughout the day. They should be getting replenished during rest, during sleep. If you're not getting the right amount of sleep, when are you replenishing your hormones? When are you replenishing your cells and your tissues and your organs? Or recharge. Recharge. The R can stand for recharge. The same way, if your battery on your phone is low, you want to find a charger to recharge it. Well, you're the same. Sometimes you need, or a lot of times you need recharging. And going back to the phone, reset. Sometimes when your phone's acting up, your phone's on a madness, what do they tell you? Or your computer, what do they tell you at work to do? Reset it. Turn it off and turn it back on again. It'll be fine. Yeah? This is when you should be turning off to then turn back on again, yeah? And what's interesting about your smartphone is when you download a new app, what do they say? For you to use it, you need to reset it. You can't just download it and start using it. They always say you need to turn it off and turn it back on again. So just keep that in mind. When you're downloading information, you might have to, you know, especially after a class like this, a lot of information, you have to hold a meds and rest and download all of that information in order to use it, yeah? So it's very important for us to go through this, rest, recovery, repair, reset. And the reason why it's so important is because our circadian rhythm is dependent on it. Now, this is your circadian rhythm. So your circadian rhythm is like your internal biological clock. It's how your body knows what time it is without looking at a phone, a clock, or a watch. Now, your hormones are based on this circadian rhythm. Your hormones get released at certain times of the day based on this circadian rhythm. And the circadian rhythm is based on you being in alignment with the universe or the sun. So when the sun is up, certain hormones get released to tell you what to do. When the sun goes down, certain hormones get released, yeah? So your circadian rhythm, how you operate throughout the day, how your body knows what time it is throughout the day, is based on this. And there's two very important hormones. One called serotonin that gets released during the day and one called melatonin that gets released during the night. Generally speaking, melatonin should be getting released roughly around 9:30. And melatonin helps you to sleep. I always tell the children, melatonin makes you feel mellow. That's the way they remember it. Melatonin makes you feel mellow. 9:30, roughly around those times, is when melatonin should be getting released to help you sleep. But what are we doing around those times? Still up, yeah? And we're getting this artificial blue light from our laptops, our phones, and that sort of stuff. Now, what you need to understand about blue light is one of the most high frequency lights out of all the radiation. So we're getting the highest frequency light through our laptops and our phones, yeah? And it's such a high frequency that if you was to be on your phone at night, that high frequency light that you're getting from your phone makes your body think that it's 12 noon. Makes your body think that it's 12 noon. And if your body thinks it's 12 noon, it's going to release 12 noon hormones. And that's going to bring you out of balance with your circadian rhythm, yeah? So it's very important for us to understand this because this is what's affecting our hormones as well. This is what's affecting our circadian rhythm, this blue light, yeah? And again, this is artificial light. This is not real light. Like, we get blue light from the sun, but that is real light. Getting blue light from these things can damage your eyes. It can damage your circadian rhythm. It can damage neurotransmitters, dopamine, and all that sort of stuff, yeah? All right, now, we've gone through power. We went through P, which is plants, O, which is oxygen, W, which is E, and R. What's the S stand for? No, that's under rest. Sunlight. And why do we need sunlight? For our melanin. For our melanin. And by the way, this is the same person, yeah? So that just shows you how important the sun is. That's the same person, yeah? So we need sunlight for our melanin. It tops up our melanin. That's how important sunlight is, yeah? And speaking of melanin, let's talk about it. So